Okay. Hello, anybody who is actually here, but likely nobody. Almost everyone's probably going to be seeing this after the fact. I apologize for that, but I have stuff my parents require me to do since A, it's kind of part of the free deal of me living here, and B, they're old and shouldn't be doing the manual labor stuff anyways. So this is going to be, and I have to get to that, so this is going to be really quick. Gonna have to actually cap this under 20 minutes. So, some more fun-ish stuff while I wait for people to show up. So everybody knows about the line, right? Yeah, the line was a nice, good old-fashioned $1 trillion. It was effectively a wealth transfer of the Saudi royal family transferring money from the Saudi government directly to themselves because the Saudi royal family are the owners and like 99.9% shareholders of the construction company that got contracted to build the line and got paid the big $1 trillion check. And now the line uh, has officially been canceled, and they finally admitted that it was always impossible. But that money, that's still gone though. That still went into the crown prince's pocket. So don't you worry about that. That's not going to be wasted like feeding anybody or bettering any kind of living conditions for like the general Saudi public or anything. Don't have to worry about it being wasted for anything like that. Let's see. More super long range Ukrainian drone strikes up in St. Petersburg. Uh, took out, pretty decently took out a Russian Baltic Fleet vessel. Yeah, here was the Russian Navy's Baltic Fleet vessel, one of the ones that was in port. So got quite a few hits in on that. That one's effectively gone. Along with the spree of super long range FPV quad rotor drones constantly hitting shipments and supply trucks and things on the uh, the furthest like highway from the front line going to and from Crimea, because I guess they're not. Russia hasn't been sending that much stuff over the bridge because I guess they wanted to try to make the bridge less of a viable target. But now the primary alternative, which was this highway down here, is now within range of these like super long range little quad rotor drones. So those have been constantly taking out fuel tankers and supply trucks and everything. So I think I showed you guys the clip last time of that somewhere over here, that big pile of like 50 gasoline and diesel like fuel tankers that were all just stacked up on top of each other waiting to get onto a ferry to cross over because they don't want to have them use the bridge again. So piling them all next to each other, a whole bunch of like 20,000 gallon tanks full of explosive material is the better option, I guess. But whoever's organizing the logistics of how things are delivered to Crimea isn't really doing that much thinking. Let's see. Persian Gulf, Iran situation. Oh, now someone showed up. I don't know how much of that cut off, but okay. So as I was trying to say, before the internet cut out for a few seconds, oil prices continue ignoring reality, staying nice and suppressed down there, as everyone continues emptying out their strategic petroleum reserves to deliberately keep the price suppressed. Normally, the market in the past has kind of still seen through that, but now it's just like wholesale blind about everything. And especially now that apparently so many traders have AI broker bots running their trades, and the broker bots are programmed to just look at headlines and just read Trump's tweets, I guess. And so every time he says that everything's perfect, everything's fine, they just sell off, and because they assume that oil price is going to drop. Meanwhile, things calms down after the little back and forth spat earlier in the week, and things even kind of calmed down between Israel and Lebanon, and they signed a thing, even though Israel and Hezbollah specifically kind of publicly uh, admitted under their breath that they're still going to fight each other anyways. But Iran indicated they're kind of fine with that as long as it just stays as ground combat in southern Lebanon between the IDF and Hezbollah, and not the IDF carpet bombing Beirut, which is what Netanyahu had them do on Monday, which is why everything got thrown out of whack. But as things continue nearing a close, you've seen the uh, further rhetoric from Trump edging towards fully backing off, I guess, his remaining like cult members from this, as they have goldfish memories, so he only needs to get it through them for like a week. So one of the you remember one of the remaining things was, I can't really draw a radiation symbol, but sure, we'll try. One of the remaining things was, no, that's not right. It's got three. Yeah, it's like one there, one there. But one of the remaining things was that the nuclear material that's buried under all the collapsed mountains and stuff now had to be taken away, and then he was okay with somebody else taking it. Now he's actually backed off of that publicly over the course of this week and said he's actually publicly said it doesn't really matter because it's buried deep under so many collapsed mountain tunnels that they can't really get to it, and that if he wanted to, he could get in there and take it, but there's no point. But there's no point. There's no need to. So he's even backing off of that portion, and he's been coming under additional outside pressure as the shipping companies themselves, the ones who actually own and operate the tankers going into and out of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf, actually started saying over the past 48 hours that this better get resolved fast. Otherwise, they're just going to start paying the $1 million fee that Iran wants to charge, because they told him publicly that would be easier on themselves and the world at large than having this whole thing continue. Because uh, the world kind of needs that additional lingering 12 or 13 million or so that is offline to get back into supply, along with the helium and fertilizer and all the other things. And also, the shipping companies have, although, they would be paying increased insurance fees and the $1 million per tanker Iranian fee, there it still would not come up in cost remotely close to the amount of money they've been losing for the past 3 months by not being able to do anything Persian Gulf related. So the endwise pressure is now increasing from all sides and pushing that further towards a conclusion. Still have some lingering sickness. There were no price changes for any items at the store when we were there today, and gasoline prices in the area in which I am in exile here have continued slipping back down very unwisely. Now down to 360 actually, which is ill-advised because the surplus market flooding the from the reserves cuts off in July or August, and the whole restabilization of the global supply situation, even if Hormuz reopens tomorrow, would take a number of months, and also every country would be over purchasing to refill their reserves for several months afterwards until at least now November. So the whole higher fuel prices for the rest of the year is basically locked in. And so if we're still doing this, if we're slipping down because of this BS price suppression, then we're just going to end up getting to sometime in July or August where the price is just going to vault up like this. Like what happened over a longer period of time with silver prices in the physical deficit. If you don't do this properly over time, if you stay down here instead, you're just going to get to the brick wall where you're going to end up going straight vertical. All right, that's what, 14, 15 minutes? Oh, only 12 and a half. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I forgot the internet cut out. Yeah, I had no idea that was going to happen. So sorry about that. But like I said at the start, if anybody wasn't here, since I expected basically everybody to end up just watching the recording afterwards, I have a lot of stuff outside I have to do as part of the deal of me staying here for free. And also, my parents are kind of old anyway, so they shouldn't be doing manual labor. So I had to get to that. So I was going to explicitly cap this one at 20 minutes. Next week, everything should be back to normal. But this time in particular, the best day for me to get all the stuff outside done just happened to line up on a streaming day. Let me see, let me think. Anything else? Oh, yeah, epic science news, actually, for which have some fitting music in one of my rare Maxogia recommends music portions. One of the music that played as the camera was gradually panning up off the surface of Titan at apparently the end of, I think, season 5 of For All Mankind. I don't watch the show. I checked out a few clips of it. It kind of went off the rails pretty fast, and a lot of it turned into Call of Duty on the moon and Call of Duty on Mars, which is not really what I'm into. But I thought it was about like it was legitimately about space and space exploration. It would have been cool, but most of it was politics, and most of the politics even was just about which secretary or which aide or which vice director of NASA was having sex with which politician, and which of the Soviet spies were, I don't know, having sex with which of the British spies or something. So it's not what it was sold to be. But the music is really good. This one, especially as the camera was panning up from Titan, as a It was as a someone who's about to die, was dying while seeing and knowing that they had like accomplished something and made a very, very future hopeful discovery. So kind of fittingly, we finally found out. I'm just gonna use the Saudi desert here because it's easiest to draw with this particular color. We finally actually cracked something. Not, it's not Star Trek. It's never going to be like that. That was literal, actual BS magic that just makes things form together in 2 seconds of trillions of different types of molecules, not just different molecules themselves. So, no, it's not the fabricator, it's not the replicator, but it's something that's probably like the closest thing you could imagine us ever getting to something like that. Uh, Except it's will be a lot slower, but the precision enabled by this is what's going to allow quite a great many things. So, using it was supposed to just be a new form of microscope, or not a new form, but a better functioning form of something that was first like conceived decades ago, called, I believe, a scanning electron tunnel microscope, which is different from the regular scanning electron microscope. We actually got to the point of dual and single atom molecular assembly, or like nanoscale piece by piece construction just a few days ago. I forgot where the team was from. I think, don't quote me on this. It was like somewhere in New England or something like that. So I would guess probably MIT or whatever. But have that's way smaller than you would actually see like this, but I have to draw it so it's actually visible. So at the end, on the surface of the smallest portion that comes out of the scanning electron tunneling microscope, they chemically attached these tiny molecules that Eiffel Tower scaffold themselves outwards like so, and then have a little diamonds there, and finally end in, I think, a molecule of a single atom of iodine, and even smaller currents than the currents that run through like your computer processors and stuff. They apply a not even a microcurrent, but a nanocurrent, actually close to being a whichever one comes after, either a picocurrent or a femtocurrent. And now that we're able to actually adjust the current so precisely, we found out that if put the atom down here, random atom or double bonded atom of some element, that instead of the regular current where they apply it and normally it beams electrons down like this, and unlike the regular scanning where they kind of like fire back and the microscope reads it, in this type of microscope they like tunnel through it and like do some quantum stuff, and affects uh, that affects the current going through it and how much needs to be applied, which then the computer analyzes to determine what it's like looking at. But they found out if they dial down the current even below that, or sorry, no, I think it was up at a little bit above that, there's a magic point, and it would be different for each element, for an atom of each element, or for like a molecule of multiple different types of elements. But there was like a magic point. I'm going to draw some magic buzzy stuff here, and then some under it to show that it's like being lifted off a surface. There was like a magic point where they suddenly found that this specific degree of nanocurrent running through these little these little like basically nanoscale antennas, iodine antennas, for lack of a better term. There is this magic point apparently where the current just went, the electrons flying around just went in such a way that they will pick up one or two or more, if you want, atoms off of a surface, and you adjust the current accordingly, depending on like the type of bonds you're trying to overcome, etc. And they could then, since the microscope apparatus is capable of moving so precisely, move it like a few nanometers, a few micrometers to the left or to the right, and then adjust the current in such a way so that the top down portion of this little levitating force field thing becomes more powerful than the bottom one, but the bottom one is still there in such a way that inserts some quantum magic. Uh, it gets like the top part of this basically electron force field shoves the atom back down now onto a different surface, onto a different structure, and the little bit of the electron force field current thing underneath it ends up acting in such a way to jostle around the electrons of the bonded atoms so that they become just free enough to rearrange and now bond onto the surface that you're trying to assemble them onto. So it is now actually possible for us to do like atom by atom if we want, or for speed purposes more efficiently, like, a few atoms at a time, assemble things literally at the actual molecular level with ac actual unhindered precision. Now, actually making something with this device, like I said at the start, would not be fast. It would be a slow process. It's not the like actual BS things just apparate into existence like the Star Trek replicator thing. But this does allow us, or in the future will allow us to actually atom by atom assemble something to a point of like absolute unhindered precision, zero fault, like zero defect, zero mechanical abnormality. All right, now going over that likely ran me overtime. Yep, yeah, no, I knew that was probably going to take me overtime, but only this far overtime, as I am stopping it here. So I'll see you guys.